Hey witches! So let's talk a little bit about spellcasting. There is a lot to this topic, so this is going to probably be a multi-layered or a multi-video process. So I'm going to try to focus on one topic at a time when it comes to all of this. But the point is that a lot of people are drawn to witchcraft initially in the beginning because they want to do spells. Magic is enticing to everybody, and everybody's got shit to get done, right? So let's talk about this. And I wanted to start with what I think is the most important part of spellcasting to recognize as to what a spell is and why it works and how it works. That sounds like a lot, but hopefully it'll become clear as I keep talking. I don't script my videos, I just kind of cuff it. So, what is a spell? A long time ago, I had somebody tell me a spell is a prayer with props. And I disagree. I do understand what that person was trying to say, but I disagree because, at least for me, the word prayer means you sit down and you ask, or kneel, whatever, and ask a being outside of yourself that you view as being higher than yourself, more powerful than yourself. You ask them for help and then you wait for their assistance. You just sit back and wait for it because you've given up and you don't know what else to do, so just there it is. And that's not what a spell is. A spell is whether you use something or not. You can use various tools, various herbs, crystals, candles, whatever, right, to do things. But really what you're doing by using all of those different things is getting your brain into a kind of a light meditative state where it is easier for you to focus on what you actually are trying to achieve and to send energy to that through your intent. And we will talk about why intent doesn't necessarily always work, although it is one of the key things when doing a spell is your intent and your willpower. Sorry, I'm already like in my brain. Too many things. So, the reason that I don't view casting a spell as the same as praying is because you're not asking an outside source for help. You are still going to be putting energy into that thing yourself, but you are focusing, you are taking the time to sit down and focus all of your energy, all of your mental and emotional capacity into what it is you're trying to achieve. Whether you're trying to send something away or bring it in, it doesn't matter. But you are going to yourself for it because you are recognizing you have the power to make the change in your own life. Even if some of the correspondences or tools that you're using in your spell happen to be like the names of archetypal gods and goddesses, right? You're not praying to those deities necessarily. At least I don't. Every pagan, every witch is different. I don't pray to anything. The way that I view the gods and goddesses, this is kind of a side note, but the way that I personally view the gods and goddesses is as archetypal energies that if I'm, they're like, just like myself, they're small pieces of the divine, right? So if I'm using a specific deity's name in one of my spells or rituals, I am just using their name, their energy, that energy that has been collectively built of them over all of the thousands of years or whatever it is, right? I'm using that to add energy to my spell. The same that I'm using herbs and crystals and things like that to just add energy. And this is kind of more the like magical woo-ha side that I don't think it's woo-ha. I believe this is very much a part of it, but it's the part that more skeptical people tend to struggle with. But everything has energy, okay? And so by combining all of these things, you are doing two things. You are getting your mind in this meditative state where it can focus better on what you're trying to achieve, and you're also collecting all these things that have energies that you are trying to utilize to pull in or to protect yourself or banish something or whatever the case may be, right? There's a lot of different types of spells. So the other part of the psychology behind spellcasting that is The most important, and the reason that sometimes your intent and even your willpower and desire is not strong enough to make your spell work, is because we can end up getting blocked, right? And you can view this also in an energetic way when you have chakras being blocked because of traumas and whatever. Or you can, also just view it in the way of like, literally psychologically, there's a block. There's some kind of belief that you have within yourself that is stopping you from being able to achieve something, because even if you're not completely aware of this, whatever the block is, that's really difficult because awareness is key to healing. But even if you're not aware of it, then like it will still block your magic from working. And the only way to work through these things is the number one goal of any witch, all right? If you look up the 13 goals of a witch, all right? I don't know if Scott Cunningham, the author, is the one who like came up with that to begin with. I don't know, but he was like the first Wiccan author I ever read, and that 13 goals of a witch has always made perfect sense to me. The number one thing on that list is know thyself. Witches have to know themselves. You have to dig deep. You have to do shadow work to understand where your blocks may be, or you won't be able to do magic. You just won't. You might and you'll notice the more blocks you remove to certain things, the more you'll be able to actually manifest things in your life that you're trying to manifest. And it'll be intentional. You won't be accidentally manifesting some shit because you're aware. You know where your blocks are. You know where your struggles are. You know where you start spiraling out of control in a negative way, and you know where you're like the happiest and the highest, right? So you know these things about yourself. You know what you can and cannot do. You know what your power is. And the more that you work through these blocks, the more powerful you become, the more powerful your magic becomes, because you no longer have something stopping you from achieving those goals. There is still magic that I have not been able to do personally in all of this time because I have some very deep wounds from my childhood and how I was raised. That's a whole other topic. So the more that I work through those wounds, though, the more that I see results when I try to do magic that is related to those types of things. You see what I'm saying? So spellcasting, really, you can look at it as being as like hippie, weird, whatever that you want to think it is. You can get as creative and out there with it as you want. It is a craft. It is your own thing. But you can also view it in a very psychological way. You are literally just reprogramming your brain to be able to have a better life. It is that simple. And there is nothing evil or devilish or demonic about that for anyone who feels the need to pop in and say so. So let me think here. Make sure I said everything I was trying to say in this video. I feel like there was something else. So yeah, the one other thing was, this is why the whole psychological component of it, when I was talking about a little while ago about getting yourself using the tools to get yourself in the right mental space to be able to see what you want and achieve it, right? When you are doing that, that's why I always stress and will continue to stress in any videos of the nature. Whatever you read in a book about a certain crystal, herb, color, whatever, oh, this means this resonates with this energy. Go, if that does not make sense to you, if it doesn't sound accurate to you, and that stone, herb, color, whatever means something totally different to you personally, that is why you always go with your personal intuition, because it is going to be so much more powerful. And you can, while I'm on the topic of more powerful spell work, right, you can definitely make you can go around and find spell books that are spells for every day, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you. When I first discovered witchcraft, I was terrified to try to write my own spells, and every spell I ever tried from a book did not work. None of them worked. And it's not that they didn't work for the people who wrote those books, but the reason that they probably worked for those people is because those people wrote those spells themselves. They put those spells together themselves. It came from their own hearts for themselves to change things in their lives. And I don't mind spell books and the fact that, like, in the beginning they're helpful in like getting an idea of what a spell is, especially because like YouTube wasn't a thing when I discovered witchcraft. So all I had was books or like various information online. And so it gives you an idea of what a spell, like what that is, what that looks like, what that feels like, whatever, right? But it's not as powerful and probably in most cases not going to do anything for you at all, from my experience again. Because it didn't come from you personally. If you're trying to change something in your own life, the most powerful spell work is if it comes from you personally. Now, if it's someone that you know and you love, then like, and you have a connection with this person, it'll probably still work if like they cast a spell for you or something like that, because there is a connection there. But I don't know. I just personally, in my experience and from what I've seen, the most powerful spell work is going to come from you doing the work yourself. Because again, it's not just about sitting down and asking for some shit to fall on your lap, right? It's you working through the psychological blocks, working through your trauma, working through shit that sucks, the shadow work that nobody wants to do. But when we do it, we become more powerful, we become smarter, we become stronger. And that is where the real magic lies. So that's what I want you guys to take away from this video. It's getting long enough as is, but like I said, there's so much more to say on the topic of spellcasting, so I'll definitely be dipping around back to this at some point. Love you guys.